Hey, everybody, this is Dana with Coach Dana Inspires.com. We are so glad you're here today. We have the absolute wonderful Fort Saeks with us. He is with Prime Concepts Group. Let me just tell you what this guy does. He's the answer guy. If you want to know how to get visible, how to get out there, he's the one to ask. So that's why he's here today. Sport, I'm so excited you're here. We are going to be talking about how to overcome obstacles out there in our business world. There's loads of obstacles, and I'm excited that you're here to share your ideas because, like I said before, you are the answer dude. So, how are you? How's your wife? How's life? How's biz?
Life is really good. I'll start out with the limited time we have here and just say, there's always going to be obstacles, and sometimes they're bigger than others, and sometimes we make them bigger than they need to be. And it really comes down to, no matter, what I do as a business growth accelerator, as a keynote speaker, speaking to audiences all across the world, and being a consultant, I really speak on business growth, right? And so I work with people to help them grow their influence, increase their subscribers, increase their leads, and increase their sales. But over the time, especially over the last couple of years, because of everything that's happened in the news and the economy and the supply chain and everything that's going on right now, there's all this disruption, either technology disruption, economic disruption, government disruption, depending on where you're watching this around the world. And so it comes down to three things. If you want to really accelerate your growth, since your audience is interested in, some form of entrepreneurship or business growth, or maybe they're considering getting into it, or they're in it now and they want it to be better. And it always comes down to one of three things. It's either their mindset, and they have their self-talk and their mindset's getting in the way of their success. It's their strategies. They don't have a proper vision and plan and mission and core values, or they don't have the right tactics. So it's always mindset, strategies, or tactics. And so today on this live stream that we're doing, I really want to focus on the mindset piece of how do you overcome obstacles, which means you have to control what you can control, right? You can't control everything else. You can't control the external things. So you want to control your attitude and your actions. So, start there with, how is your attitude, and what actions are you taking on a daily basis to move forward? Because if you're spending your time glued to the news and glued to the hysteria, depending on where you live, it might be there's no mask mandate, or it could be, you're completely locked down. But I want you to control what you can control. Does that make sense, Dana? So, the first place to overcoming the obstacles is pay attention to your attitude and your actions.
The people that you're talking to, because you have your customers, of course, but you also have colleagues in the business and speakers that are out there, going live now in lots of cases. Are they being positive? Are they optimistic? What are you hearing out there from those folks?
Well, the successful ones are. The successful ones follow a mindset of prosperity consciousness, not lack consciousness. They're constantly working on it. It's not something that you watch a live stream or a podcast or read a book and then you're fixed. It's consistent and never-ending improvement, right? It's what are you doing to grow your success library, like subscribing to your podcast or watching these live streams that you're doing, or paying attention to what information you're sharing from your other interviews that you've had. But it's having an attitude of gratitude. It's having a mindset of get to versus have to. Being open-minded versus closed-minded, being prosperity conscious instead of lack consciousness. And the list just goes on, but it starts with self-reflection, where you really just take an inventory of who are you hanging around, what are you reading, what are you listening to, what is your environment, and then stepping back and realizing that you are where you are because of the decisions you've made or the decisions you failed to make. And so if you don't like your circumstances, if you don't like how you're getting paid or what you're living, if you're not happy, then it's up to you to make a difference.
Ford, tell me how you really feel about all this. I think you're holding back. I think you're holding back on us. That Let me summarize for our viewers. If you don't like it, change it.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. I mean, and it sounds trite almost, if that's the right word, but it's almost like, oh, really? You're telling me, but it's true for me too. It's true for you. It's true for all of us. So whenever you're listening to an expert or a thought leader or anything, they're working on their stuff too. I'm far from perfect. I mean, I'm the last person to throw stones in a glass house, right? I mean, I've got plenty of skeletons in my closet. But at the end of the day, when I wake up, every day is a new day. Every day above ground is a good day. So, what are you doing today? Fine. So maybe you failed yesterday. Maybe you're not doing what you need to do in your relationship. But take responsibility for where you are and then ask yourself, what can I do? Again, it goes back to what I said. What can I control? What's within my control? And, Dana, this segues into a big spot. For years, as a keynote speaker, on stages around the globe, I would say things like, think big, think big. And I would do all these exercises to expand their mind and be innovative and creative. But then I realized that there's 3 parts to it. You need to think big, you need to think small, and then you still need to take action. So it's really all 3, right? I mean, it's not just the one. And let's see if this actually pops up here, if I can get this to show up. So I have to actually, so this, let me show you my screen. This is actually on my screen on my phone. So you'll see it says, think big, think small, take action. Because I want to be reminded constantly that, yes, it's important to think big, but then you also have to break it down to small baby step action steps. What can I actually do today to make a difference? So, you can go out and do this amazing life transformational experience, but really it might come down to something small. Maybe you eat less, or maybe you take a walk, or you read something differently, or you listen to a different radio show, or you meet a new friend, or you apply yourself at your job, and you increase your skills, because there is no such thing as job security, right? There's only skills security. And I hear it right now. People are saying, one of the obstacles that business owners have is, I just can't find good employees. It's just hard. And there's every night in the news, there's a workforce. Well, it is true. There are some differences going on, and people have reevaluated how they want to interact with the workforce. There's different generations in the workforce, and there are certainly some challenges there. But at the end of the day, if you communicate that if they come to work for you, that they're going to be able to learn and grow and contribute, and that they're going to get new skills. It's not just the pay. Pay is important, but if you also offer growth opportunities, you'll overcome some of those obstacles, and you'll attract a staff, and you'll retain that staff. But if you have the attitude of, well, I don't really want to invest in these people anyway, they're probably not going to stay very long, then what happens is you create a culture of distrust, and then you do have the turnover, and it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it's the same thing for my business. I mean, sitting right outside this office, I've got, my employees here in my agency, because I run an agency, and, I have turnover like anybody else. Sure. to some extent, but I still take responsibility for it, if that makes sense.
Right. And the thing is, I speak to companies about how adding kindness to your company culture will actually build your bottom line in a positive way. And that's part of what you're saying is, and it's not just being kind, like, oh, it's so nice and warm and fuzzy to meet you. It is, how can I help? how can I help you learn? How can I help you succeed? How can we build this business together? Not just, you're a worker bee, get to work and I don't care. It's that culture of caring. And I know what a warm and caring and fuzzy guy that you are. And I know that the people coming to work for you, they expect to do their work. There's no slacking, but they're appreciated, and they're given opportunities to learn and do more. That's why people come to work for you, not because of your shining personality.
And I want to echo this in case I've got any ex-employees that are watching this right now. I'm definitely not the easiest guy to work for. I have a high bar. I have high expectations. I expect a lot out of my team. But what I have found, not only through the things that you teach about being kind, but I've also found that you really have to appreciate the different personality styles that you have in a group. And so where I have learned to develop my leadership skills is appreciating the different styles and understanding that every situation is going to need a different type of leadership. And again, in the 70s, I don't know who did it, or Stephen Covey or someone came up with situational leadership. One of your viewers can type it into the notes on Facebook or whatever. But situational leadership really is where you look at the situation and you decide what level of attention does that person need. Do they need directing, where you really need to watch them closely? Or on the other end of the spectrum, can you just delegate? Where I have found a challenge I've had 17 different companies, thousands of employees, sold millions of dollars worth of products around the globe and through every channel of distribution you can think of. What I have found is that the different situations are so critical, because where I have failed in the past is I delegate to someone that doesn't have the experience. They're not trained to standard, so they don't perform properly. And then there's conflict. Well, there's conflict not because the employee wasn't a good employee, but because I didn't properly set them up for success. So for those of you that are business owners, if you have challenges with anybody on your team, first place to start is look in the mirror and ask yourself, are you setting them up for success? Are you giving them the procedures and the policies and the guidelines, and do they know what success looks like? So it depends on the personality style of the leader and an entrepreneur, whether you're a solo entrepreneur, a gig worker, whether you work remote, or whether you run a big company.
Yeah, and I think that's true. And knowing your employees, you kind of have to get to know them a little bit and understand where they're coming from. And that, again, that's part of, it's not just being, like I said, it's not being kind, being warm and fuzzy stuff. It's just getting to know your employees and know their experience so you can help them be the best employee. And isn't that what we're looking for? They will have a positive experience. And if they're having a positive experience, maybe they'll stay longer. Maybe they'll have loyalty. Maybe, that loyalty thing, I don't know, that's kind of gone out the window lately, but why can't employees be loyal anymore?
I think there is a big work ethic thing. And I mean, I work with a lot of what's called QSR, quick serve restaurants, fast casual, full service dining. I work with a lot of brands around the US and North and Canada. And, the problem is that when you're paying minimum wage, whether the minimum wage is minimum wage or $15 or whatever it is where you're working, the problem is with someone who comes into the workforce at that age, unless they're shared that, hey, you're going to get leadership skills, you're going to learn something else, they know they can quit and go right across the street. They can go to Panera Bread one day and go to McDonald's the next day and go to Texas Roadhouse the next. They know they can just quit and leave. So the work ethic thing is an issue, but I think it's up to the entrepreneur, the business owner, to set the expectation of, here's what it is working here, and not to lower the bar. I hear all these things on the news about school systems that are taking away testing to make it easier I just think that's, don't lower the bar, raise the bar, and then give the people the resources to improve themselves. I believe in capitalism and free market economy. I don't believe in that. I'm not going to go political in this. It's not at all what I'm saying at all. But I'm just saying that, as an entrepreneur my entire life, I'm 60 years old. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12.
Yep.
With my first business, and I've lost more money than I've made, just for the record. I've wasted more money than I've saved, like most entrepreneurs. That tends to be the issue sometimes. But every day I'm still excited about going to work. I still see opportunities, and it's a mind. Again, it goes back to that mindset thing. If you've got the mindset thing dialed in, well, fine. Then it's strategies and tactics. But if you really want to overcome obstacles, you need to make a list of, where are you now in all the areas of your life, personally, professionally, spiritually, relationships, health and fitness, whatever. And then where do you really want to go? What's the gap? So what's the clear expectation? And it can't be, well, I just want to make more money, but how much money? If someone says to me, well, I want to make $1 million, then I'm going to say, okay, how much you're going to make a month and how much you're going to make a week? What's your time worth? And are you spending your time on the highest and best use activities? Yeah. Someone said to me one time, well, Ford, it's all about the money for you. You're always talking about money. When it was about the money, I would have been retired a long time ago, and I would have managed my money a lot better than I did. So it's not about the money. It's about, like you. And I asked you earlier what pre-event when we were in the green room before we went live. And I said, what are you doing? You've done all these interviews. What are you doing it for? And you said, well, I just really like to give back. And I just like to help. And I thought to myself, my first instinct was, Dana, that's BS, which stands for belief system, for those of you listening. But I I really want you to look at, what could be the next step. Are you getting subscribers? Maybe you want to offer coaching, or maybe you want to bring speakers in that offer something and you get 10% of it, or whatever. But there should be a prosperity return on that investment for all the things you're doing. And it's not wrong to make money on delivering value. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, I just really want to give back. I'm all for philanthropy, but if you really want to help people, earn more money and then give back, right? If if you really want to give back in a bigger way. So this isn't about you, but anybody watching this or listening to this, needs to take an inventory of where are they now, where do they want to go, and then more importantly, what resources do they have in their success library? What books, what audio books, what Kindle books, Blinkist books, what Audible, whatever on Amazon, what books, what mentors, live and dead, right? What mentors, what mastermind groups could you join? What associations could you join in your community? But again, a lot of people say, well, I've joined the chamber. I didn't get much out of it. Well, what did you put into it? Right? I mean, are you really an active participant, or maybe you want to start your own mastermind? So again, if anybody has any, questions or comments, put them in the descriptions below on wherever this is posted live and for the replay. Certainly my websites are sitting right there up on the screen. You can certainly see them. But I just believe that you got to take personal accountability for your own success.
Yeah.
And quit bitching about it. I know that some people will take offense to that, and they'll say like, well, you don't know my situation. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people had it way worse than me, and that's not the point. But again, I've got people, the clients of mine that, friends of mine like W. Mitchell, who's been burned over 80% of his body. He's in a wheelchair. Like, you can't out Mitchell somebody. I don't care what problems you have. You're not going to out Mitchell. And, he still believes in what I've always learned from him back in the 80s before I even knew him, before he became a client and a friend, which is, it's not what happens to you that matters, it's what you do about it. So start there. Start there and take personal accountability. And again, I'm not preaching. I don't know all the people that are watching and listening to this. I'm just asking you that this should be a catalyst for you to become a critical thinker, to think and decide, do I agree or not? And if you agree, great. If you disagree, that's what this was for. It's not about agreeing. It's about you thinking and then asking yourself, am I making more out of this obstacle than I need to? Am I applying my skills, talents, and abilities that have been given to me? That kind of thing.
Right. And going back to when I started this whole thing, and by the way, for viewers, this happens to be my 70th interview, and I've had a blast the whole time. I mean, I've had fantastic guests, just learned so much. And when I started this, and I talked to you earlier about this, is I honestly did start this just to say, we're in the middle of COVID. Maybe this can inspire somebody. Maybe this can move somebody into a direction. And I really had zero thought of promoting myself, promoting my business, saying anything about what I do. And it was like halfway through it when somebody said, hey, Dana, dink, what do you do? Why don't you tell us what you do? And I just never, that wasn't what I did. It wasn't that's not what I started it for. But I learned. So sometimes you need somebody to come alongside you and say, hello, when we think we're doing it for the right reason. And I don't think there's anything wrong with charging for helping people. And like you said, make a lot of money, and then you can help people that way too. So that's okay. And I love that. I love the idea of it's your mindset. So when I started this, my mindset was here, and now my mindset has expanded, and I have a better idea of what I really want to do. And that I guess that takes me to a question that I really would like to ask you. Obstacles. We're kind of addressing obstacles in this. So are there one or two things that our viewers, me, you, us, what can we do daily? You were talking about, what do you read? Who do you hang out with? All these things. But is there one or two things that we can really do on a daily basis to make our businesses better, to put us in a better mind frame, to put us to on a right track for success?
Two couple things off the top of my head.
Okay.
One is something I learned from Jim Rohn years ago, which is your hour of power, which is 20 minutes learning something new. So if you travel or commute, listen to an audiobook. Don't watch a YouTube video, obviously driving, but what are you listening to? Or spend 20 minutes in the morning, read something new. Don't get up and just grab your phone. Do some personal growth and development, whatever that is for you. Whatever that is for you, then do that. Spend 20 minutes doing that. Spend 20 minutes applying it. So don't just read. I think Mark Twain said, a person who knows how to read but chooses not to is no different than a person who doesn't know how to read. So it's are you applying what you're learning? Are you doing anything to improve and actually put it into action? So, it's not what we know, it's how well we execute. That's one of the things I always say. It's not what you know, it's how well you execute. So all of us know what to do. So I don't think it's the listeners here today aren't going to, I'm going to write that down. It's you probably already know what to do. You don't need another book, podcast, seminar, webinar, nothing. You just need to get off your and do something about it. I love my buttons, so that's always good. So,
I know.
Use that. But so one would be the hour power. So learn something new, apply it, and then take 20 minutes for yourself. For those of you that are overworked and underpaid and stressed out and you're taking care of everybody else but yourself, block time out. Block 20 minutes, schedule it on your phone, and meditate or go for a walk or have a bubble bath or drink some. I don't drink, but drink a bottle of wine, whatever it is for you that helps you. I don't want to encourage anything negative here, but just you need to do something to let yourself recharge your own batteries. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing, the first concept was the hour power. The second thing it would be to look at how you're spending your time. Most people will say to me, "Well, Ford, I just don't have time. I just don't have time." And they just keep repeating that self. Well, if you just keep telling yourself that, then you don't have time. And so, one, I would watch your narrative that you're saying to yourself, so your self-talk isn't just conditioning yourself the wrong way. And then turn off the notifications on your phone that you don't need. Go into your phone after we're done with this and look at your notifications and ask yourself, are they absolutely necessary? You can still open up the apps whenever you want, but you don't have to be notified constantly, being bombarded with notices. So turn off your notifications. Think before CCing. If you're a member of a company and you're always CCing 17 different people, don't CC everybody on the list. Because what happens is then it interrupts everybody else, and then it just creates more back and forth emails that maybe aren't necessary. So again, think before CCing, turn off your notifications, take block time out on your calendar to where you're going to do growth and you're going to learn and you're going to apply, and whether it's spirituality or friends or family or whatever it is for you, just block it out. But I would say this to end the comment would be, instead of saying I don't have time, say it's not a priority.
Yeah. Yes.
And because we make time for our priorities. And so if you've got not goals that are not congruent, like me, I want to lose weight, but I like instant gratification, so I might have a Snickers at 3 p.m. So it's like, okay, if I'm going for the short-term gratification of Snickers and I'm still the same weight on the scale, I can't bitch. I can't complain. I'm in control. I hold the fork. So, I just have to decide, okay, it must not have been a priority for me. And until you have a significant emotional event in your life where someone says, oh man, you need to, you're going to be diabetic, or you're going to do this or whatever, or you just decide you want to make a change. So really it comes back to taking control and taking personal accountability. And if you don't know where to start, think big, think small, but you've got to take daily actions.
Right. And I just want to comment on that years ago, not that long ago, but years ago, everyone knows, or I think everyone knows, that I teach at the YMCA, our local YMCA, 5 mornings a week. I get there at 5 a.m. and I'm gone 7:30, 8 o'clock. So 2 days a week, I teach disabled veterans in the pool. I love them. I love the class. It's so much fun. I would walk over broken glass for a disabled veteran wanting to improve themselves. And that's a priority for me. Going to the Y, it gives me a good workout. It is good for the people in the classes. We have fun. We laugh, great music. everyone come to Cheyenne and come to my classes. It's great. But then I would come home, and then I would sit there on my tablet, and little Facebook, it's just all this stupid stuff. And I finally had to say, that is not serving me. That's not serving me. So when I come home from the Y and I drink my delicious protein shake full of all kinds of yummy goodness, I read instead of, scrolling through Facebook and seeing the kitty cat and the donkey. I mean, that's cute, but it's not really doing anything for me. So I can do that later in the day when I want to de-stress and kind of, but make my priorities different, especially in the beginning of the day. I come home from the Y and, I'm like, let's go. And so I think that's really important. And I love the way, I didn't have time. Why? Because I was sitting for 2 hours dinking around instead of drinking my shake and then getting to my desk. If someone was paying me, you'd be at your office, you'd be at your desk, and you'd be working. So I'm not getting paid when I'm in there dinking for 2 hours.
Well, I think everybody does need, Dana, they do need distraction time. They do need to recharge the batteries. But I would just say, if you find yourself, like I've been trying to get this book done for a while, and a lot of it was imposter syndrome. I'm a Hall of Fame keynote speaker. I run a 7-figure speaking business. I do all these things, but over the course of my life, I grew up with a 9th grade education, and I always stayed in my back of mind, I'm afraid to write. So I conditioned myself that. Now, where I'm going with this is, a month ago, I was awarded from Nito Cobain. Awarded is probably not the right word, but I was invited to High Point University, and I was given an honorary bachelor degree from High Point, which I'm very proud of. I'm not bragging. I'm very proud of.
Yes.
It was interesting how once I had that piece of paper, it's crazy. Once I had that piece of paper, I'm 60. Like, really? But once I had that piece of paper, it was like it gave me that validation, which is just for those of you listening, it's not smart. Like I'm not saying you should wait in life for validation. I'm just showing you that even with all the successes that I've had,
yes,
revealing the human side of this, I still had approach avoidance over opening up Microsoft Word with a blank sheet of paper and writing, and so. It's gotten better now, and I'm taking my own advice. I'm saying, okay, I do have time to write the book. I block time out for it. I'm writing 1,000 words a day, so it's not a lot. Okay, some people write 5,000. They get up in the morning, but it's really interesting how some of us just need permission, and I'm hoping that those of you watching, I'm giving you permission to pursue your dreams. Like if no one's ever told you permission to follow your dreams, you might as well follow them. How much time do you think we have left? We're not guaranteed tomorrow. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And I'm not trying to be morbid or anything, but we don't know.
No.
So, take action, because before you know it, you're going to be, I went from, I don't know about you. I mean, you're not as old as I am. You're young, the young puppy here. But I went from 30 to 60 in a freaking blink of an eye. And I don't feel 60. Les Brown used to say to me, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were? Right? Yeah. So, I mean, I'd be about, 17. My wife says I'd be about 6, a man-child. But, the point is you can do this. So whatever it is for you, for those of you watching this, whether we've got 1 or 1,000 or 15,000, what is it for you that you've been holding off that you want to go pursue? Then what action step could you take today? What could you learn? What could you do? What could you, YouTube video, what is a book? Who's the expert? Take some type of action, because the real benefit of the going live here on Facebook and the other platforms you're on is again, I'm going to go back to the catalyst. Be careful of those people who think they know everything and they act like they're perfect, but they don't know what they don't know. You have your BS detector on. If you're around someone that just acts like they know everything, that's the person you probably need to remove them from your life, because they're gonna contaminate you, and that's some of the social media. You have to. I don't mind being on social media, but if I'm on social media, I'm conscious of the programming, and I'm not as susceptible to just saying, "Oh, I believe everything I see," because it's just not true.
Yeah, you got to question it all. Absolutely. And Ford, we could be talking for another hour and a half, and we don't have that much time. We're over. We're done. Oh my gosh. I love you so much. You are just such a, and everyone knows what I mean by I love him.
We're good.
Yeah. And so I thank you so much. This has been so much fun. And I want to point something out, guys and gals. Take a look at this. Ford helped me with this. He, you know, I didn't even think about it. Like, put my picture on the stinking front page. Hello, you guys and gals. This is just something so simple, and I hadn't even thought about it. Was branding, and Ford is a savant. Is that a good word for you?
Well, I appreciate that. I'm not going to ask for those of you watching this. I'm not saying that this was 30 seconds of me just changing it from what she had, which was red lettering on a blue background. So I don't want credit for this, Dana. I just want you to be moving in the right, just for the record.
But I love it. No, I just wanted to say that this, just a word of advice is like, and I hadn't even thought about it. And thank you so much. So if anybody wants to talk to our friend, Ford Saeks, here is his information. He is the CEO, Growth Accelerator, Business Growth Accelerator. And I can tell you, he can accelerate your business. He's fantastic. He's writing a book. I can't wait for it to come out. Here's his website, his phone number. If you have questions to ask Ford, you want to know more about Ford, what he does, how he does it, get a hold of him. He is a fantastic human being, no matter what anybody else might say about him. And here's my information. Dana Morgan Barnes, CoachDanaInspires.com. I coach women entrepreneurs to find their value, because women, we devalue ourselves. We do not think we're worth what we are. So we find our value, we find our perfect client, and we get out there and we change the world one person at a time. So listen to this. If you have questions, comments, there's my information. Give me a buzz. Drop me an email. I'd love to hear from you. And Ford, once again, thank you so much for your time and your information. I have written notes a go-go here, and it's going to be posted on Facebook and YouTube. So thank you, Ford. Have a great day.
Thanks so much, Dana. Bye-bye.
Take care.